Merry meet and welcome. Welcome to the realms of mysticism, the occult, and magic, where your possibilities are only limited by your imagination. Welcome to the Witch's Cauldron and discover the knowledge you seek. Gather round the cauldron and even stay for a spell. Brightest blessings to you. Merry meet and welcome to the Witch's Cauldron. My name's Paula. Today I'm going to take on a pretty controversial video. And that is, I am going to debunk some big myths that are out there about witchcraft. And you know, it seems like everyone is trying to get into witchcraft, the occult, different pagan paths these days. And a lot of that, especially with witchcraft and Wicca, has to do with TV shows like Charmed and American Horror Story, The Craft, Practical Magic. And Hollywood makes it seem like it's easy to do witchcraft, and it's not. You also add to that the increased interest in astrology and tarot, divination systems, rune casting, crystals, and it's no wonder that people are curious about witchcraft. People are looking for a way to affect change because they feel like everything going on in the world in 2021, as I am filming this video, the world is just nuts. We're in the, pandemic. There's all kinds of strife and things going on throughout the world. And it's only normal that people would want to change things. And they feel helpless to be able to change anything in the mundane world. So then they start looking to the magical world to affect change. And the thing of it is that there is so much misinformation out there that still gets perpetuated. And a lot of it has to do with, social media influencers. And I hate that word because I didn't ever start this channel to become an influencer. I started this channel to teach people about Wicca and witchcraft from a practical sense and give them a good foundation. You cannot learn to be a witch in 60 seconds or less on TikTok, Pinterest, InstaWitch, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't happen just like this, okay? So I want to dispel a lot of the crap that I hear being promoted on other channels. And when I say crap, what I am saying is there is no historical basis to back any of this stuff up. And I'll go over where you might be able to make some loose associations in some of these, but flat out, some of them are just not true, period, okay? And the first one is that witches were herbalists and midwives who worship pagan gods, okay? And during the Middle Ages and the witch hunts that everybody likes to refer to, there were two charges of witchcraft that you could be charged with. One is Maleficarum, and I'll put that right down here. The other one is Diabolicarum. And Maleficarum just means bringing harm to somebody else. This could be anything from a crop failure to giving somebody a stomach ache to, making a cow not give milk anymore, okay? And Diabolicarum was actual worship of Satan. With the charges that you could be charged with for witchcraft, being Maleficarum or Diabolicarum, it was really, really dangerous to openly worship pagan gods and goddesses. And quite frankly, witchcraft, the craft itself, does not involve worship of any deity, okay? The actual practice of witchcraft doesn't do that. Usually it's through worship, through ritual and things like that, but not necessarily spell work. There are theistic witches out there, me being one of them. However, there are a lot out there that are not. So in the Middle Ages, you could, usually the people who were charged with witchcraft were cantankerous villagers. Okay, for one, if you were just a butthead, people would charge you with being a witch because you were a cantankerous old butthead. Now, a lot of what gets tagged on to this, you know, the witches were all herbalists and midwives, was then they tack on this other part that because they possessed feminine expertise and threatened masculine authority at the time, and even well-known figures like Margaret Murray promoted this belief, but there is no actual historical record to really back this up. There is no one old pagan religion that is practiced by witches, okay? And I'm going to get to the next part because this kind of fits in with this. And this is witch hunting equaled women hunting. And that goes back to that, the male, establishment was so afraid of the feminine mysteries and blah, 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 so they went after all the women. Men are witches as well. And overall, the majority of those who were tried for witchcraft were women. However, in other parts of the world, specifically in Scandinavia, men were in the majority of those who were charged. Male witches were found in England and across Europe, and even there were men charged with witchcraft in the Salem witch trials in the United States that was then, a British colony. Approximately 6,000 men, or about 15% of the total of those executed for practicing witchcraft, were men. 15%. So to say that the witch hunts meant women hunting because we possess these, threatening feminine mystery skills that threatened the patriarchy is malarkey. It is toxic feminist revisionist history, and it ticks me off. And that's all I'm going to say on that. So if you are of that belief, you need to really do some historically based research, because what you are putting forth and what you're putting out is not based in actual fact, because men comprised about 15% of those who were tried for witchcraft. So don't say that it was just a woman hunt, because it was not. Another one is King James I was responsible for the hunting and execution of witches. Well, in England, most accused witches were executed in the last 10 years of Elizabeth I's reign, okay? And she reigned from 1558 to 1603. King James I reigned from 1603 to 1625. The first Witchcraft Act was passed in 1542 under Henry III, and this specifically made summoning spirits in all pact witchcraft a crime. This act, Witchcraft Act of 1542, was then revised under King James I. It's a revision. It was not anything new. And in fact, Elizabeth I, her reign, executed more witches than King James I did. Okay, so let's get that part of your history straight too. Another one is the Catholic Church and Spanish Inquisition were the drivers behind the witch trials. And I was actually under this belief until I did more research into the facts. And all four major Christian denominations, Anglican, Calvinist, Lutheran, and Roman Catholic, persecuted witches to a certain degree. The Orthodox and Eastern churches rarely got involved in anything of the witch hunting kind of realm. In Scandinavia, Scotland, Geneva, and England, trials were carried out by the Protestant denominations, not the Catholic Church, Protestant. The actual Spanish Inquisition, in that not the Papal Inquisition, that was a different thing, but that just involving Spain was only responsible for executing 2 witches in total, the Spanish Inquisition. Heretics, converts, Muslims, and Jews were the primary targets of the Spanish Inquisition, not witches. Another thing that kind of I fell into when I first got into Wicca and witchcraft, I thought I needed all of this stuff, okay? And truth be told, the witches of old practiced with what they had readily available. They didn't have a corner occult shop or crystal shop to load up with candles and herbs and stones and incense and, altar decorations and blah, 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 blah. And, they certainly didn't have books of shadows that look like frickin' 3rd grade craft projects with a bunch of shit hanging out of it either. That's another one of my pet peeves. So, and this is a modern trend to think that you need to have all this crap. You do not need a bunch of stuff to perform witchcraft. I have pared back so much of my stuff. I have taken a lot of my things down to my high priestess's shop and said, here, sell it for whatever you can, consider it a donation to the school, buy whatever you need for the students. If you know a student that needs stuff or whatever, then give it to them. Because I have found that I can go into my kitchen and find most of what I need, and if I can't find it there, I can find it out my back door or in my garden, in my flower beds. And quite honestly, the core of witchcraft is attuning to the energies around you, attuning to the elements, attuning to your surroundings and what's there. Some of the most powerful magic I have ever done didn't require any ingredient other than me. That was it. And that was because I was so tuned in and so focused on what I wanted to accomplish. I didn't need anything else other than my relationship to my surroundings to make it happen. You don't need to break the bank. If you don't have a cauldron, get a pot out of your kitchen and use that. You can use your imagination. You can go out, find a stick and carve and strip the bark off of it and make a wand. For heaven's sake, you do not need to drop a ton of money on stuff, because at the end of the day, the things that really hold your energy and really amplify what you're trying to do and make your magic work is your relationship with specific objects or specific ingredients or just the energy around you. Please stop letting people make you believe that you need a ton of crap and you have to buy clothes from Killstar, Dolls Kill, blah, 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 waddy, 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 witch aesthetic, whatever. Because it's not true. It's just there for looks. And if that's what you're depending on to make your magic happen, guess what? You're not going to be a very successful witch. Just saying. And with that, a lot of times people are made to believe that witchcraft is easy and it involves no sacrifice. And I don't mean sacrifice like, you know, sacrificing an animal or anything like that. I'm talking about personal sacrifice. Your time, your blood, your sweat, your tears. Okay? It's right now, it is very easy to be led to believe on some platforms like Pinterest and TikTok and Instagram that, you know, it's easy. All you got to do is boop and there it is, magic, woo-woo. People are led to believing that, you know, all you need is a candle and throw some herbs together in a pot and boom, you're a millionaire. You'll have all the money you'll ever need. Bullshit. Nothing comes easy, even magic. I have been a student of different types of magic, religions, spiritual paths for over 20 years. Now, here's a little bit of a rant. I have zero respect for aesthetic witches who cannot walk the walk that are on any of the social media platforms like YouTube, Insta Witches, Witch Talks, Pinter Witches, whatever the heck they're calling themselves. I have zero respect for them whatsoever, because if you think you're a witch because you put on a pointy hat and you wear black clothes and you have a lot of kohl eyeliner around your eyes and you look all spooky and shit, you think that makes you a witch, you are sadly mistaken. It pisses me off because it dilutes what it really means to be a witch. I say that I'm a witch with pride. You don't see me here, you know, looking all dressed totally in black and well, I do have a black smoky looking top on today, but it's hot and this is cool. So there you go. But I don't have the witch aesthetic. To look at my house, if you can't see my altar, you probably wouldn't know that I'm a witch. You don't see all kind of spooky stuff hanging over on my couch, and you know, my dogs aren't wearing little witch hats or horns or anything like that. You're not going to do it. But that's not what it means to be a witch. Just looking the part doesn't make you a witch. You have to learn the energies. You have to learn what works with you and what doesn't. That's not to say I've been a student and I never quit learning, okay? I always want to research other paths. So the more that I learn, the more I understand about working with universal energy and being able to bring about change in the mundane using magical properties and energies. If you think that just wearing the look makes you a witch, you're going to fail miserably. And you're going to be very disappointed, and you're not going to know. The next thing is you have to do the same things as everyone else. All right, if you watch very many YouTube witchy channels, or you scroll on Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, whatever, everybody says you need the show in their backgrounds, their aesthetic and whatever, that they've got a black cat, they have an herb garden, they've got an incense burner, there's candles everywhere, and you've got to have 3 types of crystals to do anything. And you see a lot of flash and slick production values, professional lighting. You don't see that crap here. You see my little, I'm using a webcam, and you see my little light in front of me behind my PC that's like got daylight lighting to it to keep some of the shadows from falling all over my face. But you're not going to see that kind of nonsense on my channel. There are some really solid practitioners out there who have impeccable editing, who have these beautifully produced videos. Freyia Norling is one of them. But I'll tell you what, she not only talks the talk, she walks the walk. And there are some solid practitioners out there who do that. But the preponderance of the ones that I see are all flash, and there is zero substance to what they have to say or what they have to offer to people who are new or interested in the craft, interested in Wicca, interested in heathenry or Nordic witchcraft or whatever, druidry or whatever. So smaller creators like Amethyst Rose Witch, if you're into Italian witchcraft or left-hand path. Venus Satanas, Kindra Ravenmoon, if you're into like Satanism. Kindra Ravenmoon is a theistic Satanist. She's a public author. Lora O'Brien is one that's great for Irish witchcraft and Wicca. So they give out authentic information, real information. Another one is Jessie from Midgard Musings. If you're on the heathen path or you're interested in the path of heathenry, I will link their channels down below, and I'll also pin a comment. And as always, I really encourage you to follow my friend NightShayde and in his Flatline to Beatline podcast. And NightShayde does another podcast with Kindra Ravenmoon called Hail and Horns over on Trovo. I will link everything down below. These are creators that I believe in, who I have learned a lot from, especially Kindra and NightShayde. And I call them both friends. They are really wonderful people. So what does work? Working with herbs, energies, crystals, if that's your gig, and finding what works for you. In a lot of my videos, I'll give you a baseline, like of correspondences that are in a lot of like correspondence books. I mentioned the Llewellyn's Complete Book of Correspondences. And those are starting points. What makes you and your Book of Shadows yours is you finding out what works for you. So, for instance, Onyx may provide me with X, Y, and Z powers. But if my High Priestess puts it on, she gets meaner than a rattlesnake. I mean, it just makes her go... So she stays very far away from Onyx. And nowhere in any correspondence are you going to find that. You only find that by working with certain energies. It's important for you to do the work. And that leads me into this. Witchcraft involves zero risk. And whoever told you that is a moron. There's always risk of some kind. The dangers are played up or down depending on who you're talking to. Even experienced practitioners have had things blow up in their faces now and again. I literally cannot tell you how many times I have done things like call in a deity, for instance, the Kaliak. And I had a Kaliak candle made. I bought it from my HP. She charged it and had the energies, gemstones, herbs in the wax with the Kaliak and that intent, her intent. And boy, the Kaliak came in, man, and she proceeded to throw light blue wax all over my off-white walls, and I was scraping wax off everything for a couple of days, and ended up having to, you know, prime and repaint my wall because I couldn't get the like stain from the wax off the paint. So I've also had, you know, been so enthusiastic in a ritual calling water. Skies were clear until Paula called in water, and then there was a rain that started out of nowhere, and I went, oops, sorry guys. And we had to finish our ritual in the rain because literally I got a little bit enthusiastic. If you've listened to many of my videos, I always talk about protections, casting circles, shielding yourselves, and it's really important when you are a beginner to do that. You need to be careful. You need, until you become comfortable in your own little witchy skin, in your own little witchy skills, and your witchy powers, I would highly suggest casting circles, shielding, and doing protections around your house. I do protections and shielding on the daily. And that's just because I'm a medium and I live in the middle of a Civil War battlefield, and the ghosties like to just come around and randomly visit. And it's bad enough with them, but you know, my family pops in and out all the time. You can usually see stuff happening back here in the background of my videos, and they're just saying hello. But since I live in the middle of a Civil War battlefield, I have to throw up protections, or else I have random ghosties come roaming through the house all the time. So there you go. So those are some of my big myths about witchcraft and debunking them. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. It's engagement anyway. Leave me a comment down below and consider becoming a member of the channel, either as a Cauldron Coven or a Cauldron practitioner. And as I always say, merry we did meet, merry we will part until we merry meet again. Be well and walk in love and light, everybody. Bye.